Now I'm going to introduce you to the Kathmandu Base Camp Retreat 180 tent and show you how to pitch it. First thing you do is you get the fly out of the road, that goes up second. Lay out the inner, and before you put the inner out, just make sure there's no rocks or sharp twigs or anything that can put a hole through the tent floor and puncture it. Just lay it out flat, and when you're happy where it is, peg out the corners. And you peg each corner out. And if the ground's a bit tough, just use a rubber mallet. The next step is to sort the poles out and put them into the inner. We've got 2 main poles in black, and then a grey and a yellow, and the 2 steel poles for the front veranda. We can leave those steel poles aside for a moment. We start off by assembling the poles. Now the most important thing about assembling poles is they're held together with a small piece of bungee, and don't drop them on the ground like that, because the metal ferrule will cut through the bungee and it'll make the pole separate, so that's no good. When you're opening the pole, open it gently, just assemble the pole by sliding the sections together. The next step is to lay the poles out on the inner, and you'll notice that the poles are colour coded to the sleeves. So we've got a piece of black binding on the end of this sleeve, and that matches to a black pole. There's a piece of grey binding and a grey pole, and the last pole is yellow with yellow binding. The next step, once the inner's pegged out, is to start threading the poles. You'll notice black pole into black binding. It makes it much easier to thread the poles if there's 2 people, one feeding from the end and one feeding the pole through the sleeve. Once the pole's through the sleeve, just feed it so that the pole is roughly central in the pole sleeve. Once the second black pole is in, you put the grey pole in. Grey pole matches to grey binding. Just thread it in, feed the grey pole through. Once again, just feed it through so that the pole is roughly central in the pole sleeve. Yellow pole to yellow pole sleeve. The real trick with putting up the Retreat 180 is to have someone inside the tent underneath the main poles, just lifting it up while you insert the poles into the pins. So you just unzip one of the side doors and hop inside underneath those 2 main poles. Lift the tent up in the centre and insert the poles onto the pins. Move across to the diagonal pole. And if the pole comes undone, that's no problem. Move to the opposite diagonal. Once again, if the pole comes undone, it doesn't really matter. Just carefully reinsert it. Those are the 2 main poles in, and then move to the grey pole. Flip it in, move around to the other side, got the other end of the grey pole in, and the yellow pole. The yellow pole in last, and that's all 4 poles in. Once the inner is up, the next step is to put the fly on. You lay it out next to the tent and roll it out. You need to put the fly on the tent the right way round, and on the Retreat 180 You can tell the correct way around because the rear of the tent has a circular door zip like this. So when you know you've got it oriented around the right way, you grab the leading edge of the fly and pull it up over the tent. Once the fly is over the inner, unzip one of the side doors and in behind each of these guy points is a Velcro wrap. Undo the wrap and secure it around the pole. And you repeat that for all of the guy points. And in a high wind, the guy is actually going to hold the whole tent secure for you. Once that's done, do the door up again and then reach down and clip these buckles into each pole point and tighten the floor up securely like that. Put the fly down at each corner. Once you've clipped the fly onto the inner, you just peg each corner out, moving to the second corner, just to keep the fly nice and tight. Peg through the bungee. Even though the Retreat 180 will stand up by itself, just as it is now, it's always best, in case there's any bad weather or high winds coming along, it's always best to use the guy ropes and peg them out just to give a little bit of extra stability and strength. Just pitch the guy ropes maybe 1.5 meters away from the side of the tent and adjust the tension by sliding on the plastic buckle. There it is, nice and secure. If it's a nice day and you want to open up your Retreat 180 and get a little bit more fresh air coming through, got these zipped window flaps, open them up, and then simply pull the guy rope here and hook it over the peg that's been used to peg out the fly. If you want to open up the front of the Retreat 180, there's also provided these steel pole sections. There's 2 of them, each of 4 sections, and you clip them together like that, and then open the front door, and then insert the top of the pole in through the steel eyelet, lift the door up, and then drop the guy loop over the end of the spike and peg it out. Put your guy rope at about 45 degrees to the tent. Just do your final adjustments on the tension. And here it is, open air living. Fantastic. And there it is, the pitching of the Retreat 180 tent. Fantastic.